Hi, and welcome to the Psychic Hour, where you can get the answers to your most challenging questions concerning life, love, or the afterlife. Starring Cindi Sansone-Braff, the romance whisperer, a relationship expert with a twist. She talks to the dead to teach you how to live well and love better. Named Best Psychic 6 times by the Long Island Press, she is the author of Grant Me a Higher Love, Why Good People Can't Leave Bad Relationships, and Confessions of a Reluctant Long Island Psychic. Joining her tonight and always is the show's producer and host, Nicole Semidei. Nicole, a talented artist, writer, entrepreneur, and intuitive, shares her unique perspective on the Grant Me a Higher Love philosophy, which is the spiritual foundation of their show. Hi, Nicole, and welcome to our first show of 2026. Wow.
I know, right?
That's a mouthful,
It is a
really, it's a
mouthful.
mouthful. And it's so exciting because we're going to do a great show for our listeners about forgiveness
Mhm.
because we're trying to let go of the past pain to embrace a peaceful 2026. So
Mhm.
talking about forgiveness is a good thing to do. If it's anything that we haven't let go of from our childhood, from last year, last night, whatever,
Mhm.
let's just let go of that because as we discussed a lot in our last season that was the year of energy and we became cognizant of
Oh,
what's
yeah.
draining us, what's disempowering us. So in this year of 2026, which has a couple of mantras, one of them always makes us laugh. That's the one that says, "Tell me again how this is my problem," to remind us to not waste our energy
Mhm.
enabling other people and cleaning up messes that are not ours to clean up.
Yep.
But the more important part of 2026 is after we've done the re-examining of our life for the last couple of years, which started with COVID and continued into 2025, is to reinvent ourselves and
Mhm.
redesign our lives.
Yep.
And I was very excited to hear from Nicole earlier before we started the show that she has a website
Mhm.
based on the Grant Me a Higher Love philosophy
Yep.
that features products, things like t-shirts, mugs, things that will resonate with a higher frequency. So I'm going to turn this part over to Nicole because this is really her baby.
All right. Well, basically, I wanted to do something that incorporated my art with kind of what we do here. I wanted something that was going to leave a little bit more of a footprint. I didn't just want to do random things. I wanted something that can carry what we have been doing since before 2009, that could really resonate with people and kind of act as a reminder. And we all need to be nudged sometimes. You're not infallible. I'm not infallible, even though we've been doing this for so long. And our listeners and the people that follow you and the people that follow people that are like minded like us, they're not infallible either. We stumble. And sometimes we just need a nudge. We need a reminder. It started out where I was just creating art and then I was going to try to redistribute it. And then I decided, you know what, let's just do something else with it to make it so people can carry it with them, not just,
Right.
sit in a room someplace so that people could carry it with them. So I started doing hats and t-shirts and mugs and tumblers and things like that. The store is called Omen Ember, and I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties with the website. But hopefully by this weekend, all of those technical difficulties will be worked out, and then people can go to the website and see it. And then social media will be soon to follow after that. I'll start a Facebook and an Instagram for the store. Everything is based on your teachings and
Little sayings you put on things. Is that
yeah,
what it is?
yeah, basically like for example, one of the t-shirts I have is say what you mean what you say, but don't be mean. And it's something that you and I have said for years on this show. There's other ones in there that are just like the Om symbol. I did a couple of like artsy Buddhas there because I believe that I think actually you were the one that when I did my art show that bought my paint
I, d-
my
I
charcoal
have it in
of the
my
Buddha.
reading room.
Yep. So I did like like a Buddha one and everything that's kind of like updated and everything, and it has like a quote on there about having sight. There's just a bunch of stuff about higher love. I just wanted to remind everybody that it's based on what we say here and kind of cultivate positive energy and seek a higher love and be the best version of yourself.
Wow.
So,
And
yep.
2 years from now, it will be the 20-year anniversary of Grant Me a Higher Love, the book. So
Damn.
you got this really had a good time. So that even seems hard for me to believe it's
I
so
know, right?
right.
Like,
So
when I
that's
tell
good.
people like that, I do a radio show and it's about love, it's about relationships, and I work with a, multi-time author and all these things. And like sometimes when I just think about the amount of time, I'm like, wow, really? It's like, yeah, I've been doing it for like 10 years. It's like, no, that was like 10 years ago. I was
N
doing it for
and
10
that was
years,
like
10 years ago.
17 years, okay? Almost 18. So
I know, it's
it
crazy. It's
it's
crazy the
moving
amount of
right
time.
along. And
Yep.
that's why this particular show we're doing on forgiveness is an important one because no one really was taught the proper way to forgive.
No.
My mistake, my error in past relationships when I was younger was we
Mhm.
were taught, someone says they're sorry.
And
But meanwhile, they didn't do the proper steps of forgiveness and they did the same things over and over again and then
mm,
said, I'm sorry. Like,
yep,
that's not how it works. Okay. But
yep,
that's how we were taught that it works.
mm,
And so it took me a long time to figure out what does forgiveness mean. And in the book, Why Good People Can't Leave Bad Relationships, there is a whole chapter about forgiveness.
yep,
It's a big one.
important one.
Most of us forgive too easily and too often. That's basically what it comes down to. But we're not really forgiving.
Mm-mm.
What we're doing is stuffing down anger.
Yep.
And stuff down anger is one of the worst things we could possibly do. That's being the people pleaser and the peacemaker,
Mhm.
peace at any price. Because stuff down anger becomes depression, because depression is anger turned inward, and it's
Mhm.
a feeling of hopelessness. And if you keep forgiving the same person or the same people and they're doing the same things over and over again, and you're just stuffing it down, it's going to start to feel hopeless.
Yep.
And then that low grade depression kicks in and it's just there. And that's an energy sapper. And we've been talking about where am I losing my energy? Why am I so tired? Why do I feel drained? I mean, how much I sleep, I'm exhausted.
Yep.
Well, that's not hard work. Hard work doesn't make us tired because if we love our work, it's actually very exhilarating. You and I have gotten in a zone and we work through the
Yep.
night or whatever. We're not tired. I think not forgiving is probably one of the biggest things that does drain us. When we were taught about forgiveness, a lot of us learned it in church or temple, or they talked about forgiveness. And Jesus said, forgive 7 times, 70 times, which when I was a kid, I thought 490 times. Wow, that's a lot. But as I got older, I realized certain people do the same, sins over and over again. It's supposed to be 490 different sins, not
Yeah.
forgiving the same thing over and over again.
No.
But also, as I did a little research about the word forgiveness, it was interesting to have read that Jesus talked in Aramaic.
Mhm.
And to forgive doesn't mean what it means now. To forgive means to untie victim consciousness,
Mhm.
cut away, set
Self-liberation.
ourselves free.
Yep.
That's a little bit different concept because it doesn't mean stay attached. Because if someone isn't really going to change, we have to come to recognize that forgiveness doesn't necessarily mean reconciliation.
Yep.
Because so there's a lot of steps to forgiveness. That's one thing we were never taught.
Mhm.
It's not just, I say I'm sorry and that's it. Forgiveness implies that the person truly recognizes they've done something wrong.
Mhm.
They're not just saying it so we'll shut the hell up and it will leave them alone. They don't believe they've done anything wrong. They're just saying, I'm sorry, so we'll accept that. When you see a person make the same mistakes over and over again with you, that would clearly violate the first step of forgiveness because they're not recognizing wrongdoing.
Yep.
They really don't recognize because if they did, they wouldn't do it again. If you're dealing with a person that's still in your life and you're kind of saying, well, they did say they're sorry, but it doesn't seem
real or truthful. It doesn't seem to ring truth. And the second thing goes along with recognizing wrongdoing is you don't do it again. We can make mistakes, make many mistakes, but to keep making the same mistakes over and over again is just a waste. So, again, if you're going to say you're sorry, you've had to do some inner searching to understand why you're sorry. Like talking to dead people is a little bit brutal because 90% of them would have, could have, should have loved better, would have, could have, should have done differently. Sometimes a dead relative will come through to say, oh, tell them I'm sorry. After 30 years of doing this, I've began to realize some people are just not sincere. They're saying they're sorry, but they don't know what they're sorry for. They haven't done their life review properly. It's vacant. It's empty. It's not a true I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Other people I do hear from the other side, oh, they're genuinely sorry. And they're specific as to what they're sorry for. And they recognize their wrongdoing. So we have to recognize wrongdoing,
Mhm.
don't do it again, say you're sorry. We might also have to have someone go to therapy if necessary,
Yep.
because maybe they can't change without therapy. Now, you've known me long enough and have heard me read a lot of people on our radio show when we used to do the call in show. And a lot of it, I would say to people, they're not sure if they should stay married or they want to leave this person or whatever. And I'll say, well, is the person going to therapy? And sometimes they'll say yes. And I'll say, well, they're doing something. Now, let's see if they're really doing their therapy correctly, because some people go to therapy and they just get a therapist who just lets them say whatever they want and they never change. And the therapist agrees it with everything.
Mhm.
But other times, if they say, well, he's got an addiction or she's got a gambling problem or whatever. And I'm like, without therapy, without a 12-step program, nothing's going to change. So you can't really forgive that person if they're not doing something to change their behaviors. And they also have to make amends to us.
Yep.
Most people don't make amends. If
Yeah.
if someone's cheated on you, they got to make amends and they have to be in therapy and they have to, show for the next
They have
year or
to
two
Yeah.
behaviors.
Yeah. They have to demonstrate real change. We were talking about this in the beginning of the show. People are not infallible. And yes, sometimes lessons should be learned the first time. And sometimes they take a little while, and sometimes there are bad
Forever.
habits to break. So you may hurt somebody once, you may apologize and mean it, and then you may do the same thing again and go, ah,
Why'd I do that?
and catch yourself and then have to apologize again. But the difference is you're not just saying, yeah, sorry, or accepting a yeah, sorry, and then allowing the person to continue to be the same person. There's got to be some sort of a compensation. There's got to be some sort of a demonstration that they are empathetic to, or even sympathetic to how they made you feel. And it could be necessary to just terminate that relationship and just maintain a very strong boundary against that person so that you're protecting yourself. Because I used to say it all the time when I was administering some tough love to those same callers. If you fool me once or if you get me once, that's on you. But if you get me again and again, that's on me.
And if we think the person's going to hurt us again, it does not mean reconciliation, because
Mm,
that's just asking for more nonsense. And
yep.
again, forgiveness doesn't imply we forgive actions, because some actions are totally
Mm-hmm.
unforgivable.
Yep. Oh.
But we forgive people, as you say, they're not infallible. Humans are
Mm-hmm.
highly flawed creatures,
Yep.
actually, exceedingly flawed creatures.
People use forgiveness and reconciliation as the same thing.
No,
They're not the
no.
same thing. Forgiveness is an internal process.
Right,
The
exactly.
forgiveness is for you to do. You're not doing it for anybody other than
No.
yourself. You're not forgiving someone else's actions for them. You're forgiving somebody else's actions for you because you don't want to take that toxicity with you. And like you said in the beginning, there's a self-liberation there. It's cutting those energetic cords.
Absolutely.
So you're forgiving for you. And reconciliation is mutual. It's a two-way street. You have to make sure that on that two-way street, it's going both ways. And at the and if you choose reconciliation, you could also choose whether or not you really wanna forgive and whether or not I mean, and whether or not you wanna stay on that street and just go and do the solo version instead of doing the mutual version, but you could make that choice at any time. Reconciliation and, forgiveness are not they're not mutually exclusive, and they're not the same thing.
So we'll state again, we forgive people, but we do not have to forgive actions. I think
Mhm.
that's what's confused people. They can't ever forgive someone because they can't forgive the action, but no one said you have to forgive the action.
Mm-mm.
You have to forgive the person, and that's very, very different. Forgiveness is really what we do for us because if you've ever held a grudge against someone or carried the burden of a family member, a sibling, a parent that has been abusive, and you've carried that for decades,
Mhm.
you're draining your energy, you're draining your immune system. It's taking a lot out of you to carry that. So, forgiveness is something we do for ourselves. There are plenty of actual scientific studies, including one done at John Hopkins on their website. They talk about all the positive things to your body that forgiveness does.
Mhm.
It lowers your blood pressure, it lowers your cholesterol and your cortisol levels,
Mhm.
and it boosts your immunity and it helps your mental functioning. The depression begins to lift, there's less anxiety. It's not just something that we do for our minds.
Mhm.
There are invisible cords that bind
Yes.
us to someone, and these chains will stay like crippling us
Mhm.
as real as if they're like chains on our wrists. That's why I call toxic love cellmates because they're like bound together. And forgiveness cuts those strangulating cords.
Mhm.
And sometimes, particularly if you've had a long term relationship or gone through a divorce, which many, many Americans have done that now, it doesn't go away the day the divorce papers come. Does take time. It's not something you do in an instance, but also there's a new dynamic that came down in 2024 and 2025. It's phenomenal dynamic of it's not my monkey, it's not my circus. Like some people, they might want to hurt you, but you have to say, "Will I
Oh,
do
yeah.
anything to deserve that?" No, I'm not even letting that get in my mind and make me have something to forgive because I'm not even taking it personally. It
Mhm.
has nothing in the world to do with me. So it's a different level of forgiveness because it's not allowing it in the first place.
Yep.
Half the time we've let people hurt us because we've been brainwashed to want everybody to like us.
Mhm.
And people we don't like and they do things and we're so upset. Well, you don't even like them. What do you care?
That's one of the best conclusions I ever got. Is now I don't give a shit if you like me or not.
No.
They
And it's very important that you understand that forgiveness does not mean forgetting. Doesn't
Mm.
mean I forget
Oh,
what
no,
you
of course
did.
not.
It means I forgive, but I remember
You're forgiving a person, you're not forgiving
what they
the
did.
action. You're not
Right.
condoning what they
No.
did. You're not forgiving that. You're forgiving the person that did it. You're coming to an understanding about who that person is. You're reconciling whether or not that pain that they inflicted or that necessity for forgiveness was intentional or not.
Right. Exactly.
And then you're coming to a place where you're forgiving the person, not necessarily what they did, because and the reason for that is that we're requiring that there's accountability. We're
Right.
requiring that there's change. So if you forget the action, you can't require anything because the action is forgiven. It doesn't make sense.
That's very
Allowing yourself to
important.
let it go.
That's
You're
important.
giving a gift to yourself, in other words.
Absolutely. Now, forgiveness is one of those things that it doesn't end the pain that people cause just because they die.
No.
Okay. And a lot of times my clients haven't processed deep, deep hurting that has
Mhm.
taken place at all because the person died and then as good Christians, good Jews, any organized religion would say, put a slab, you said, put a slab over it, make a saint out of it. No,
Yeah.
we can't do that. We can deal with forgiveness issues. And I would say 70% of my readings deal with some level, some aspect of someone coming here with
Mhm.
an unresolved major issue with, say, a dead husband, a parent, a child.
Yep.
These issues were not resolved and the person died. And I tell them, you can make peace with this. First
Mhm.
of all, you've got to talk about it. We've gone a little extreme with Maury Povich and the shows you go on and you dirty laundry all over the place. That's a
Yep.
little extreme from when people used to put a slab over it. But you talk to a trusted friend, a therapist, someone that you feel will understand this situation. And you
Mhm.
sort of get some clarity on it. And sometimes, in all honesty, the big forgiveness is not of others. The real lesson of forgiveness is forgiving ourselves
Mhm.
for having allowed it, for
Mhm.
having ignored red flags that fully warned us. Spirit
Of course.
always gives us a heads up someone's going to screw us over. They show us concrete things,
Mhm.
not once, not twice, 3 times. And we keep thinking, well, they did it to that person. They won't do it to me. That's our
Yeah.
own form of well meaning narcissism to think that someone hurts everyone, but not us. So the forgiveness that really is the ultimate is to forgive ourselves
Mhm.
for allowing it. And so when we have a dialogue between you and me and someone that's crossed over, sometimes it's really sad because I'll have to tell a client, your dad said he's sorry from the other side, but he doesn't mean it. It's not
Yeah.
sincere. I have to tell you, take it with a grain of salt. He's saying I'm sorry because he's got spirit guards around him telling him that's all you're allowed to say,
Yeah.
but it's not sincere.
My mother is very, very troubled, and there have been times where I've had to kind of separate myself a little bit. Years ago, before she was as troubled as she is now, she had a friend, and he wound up not doing the right thing by his wife. And my mother's husband happened to also not do the right thing by her. And after years and years of friendship, when my mother decided to divorce her husband at the time, she lost this friend, and she lost his wife as a friend as a result, even though they had known each other for years and years before she even married this guy. But they had each other's backs in their
Oh,
infidelity and in their shenanigans, so what other choice was there really for him? And we found out that he passed recently, and when she found that out, she was like, "Oh my god," his poor wife, his poor kids, and how are they gonna get on, and I can't believe it,
ugh.
he was so young, like, speaking about him like he was a good guy. He was not a good guy. He really wasn't. He was screwing his wife over. He was screwing her over physically, financially. Like, he made a lot of really bad decisions. And I think personally, he was sick for a reason, and probably mind body connection. He probably got very, very ill for some of those reasons, for some of his
And
actions.
also between you and me,
Hmm.
there's a lot of stuff that will come out that his wife doesn't know
Well, I'm
about
sure
that
of it.
made him sick.
I'm sure of it. Well, part of the reason that my mother's friendship severed with her was because my mother did try to say, "Listen, if you think that he's not doing what my husband's doing, you've got another thing coming," and she refused to believe it. My mother always did right by her. I mean, my mother co-signed a car for her daughter because they didn't have the credit to do it. And the daughter never ever screwed my mother over, thank God, knock on wood. But my mother was speaking about him very, very kindly as if they were still friends. And she's like, I can't really drive, and maybe I can get somebody to take, to take me, to the memorial. And I'm like, absolutely not. I'm like, "You are not taking yourself to that place. Number 1, it's gonna be hard for you because you can't really see people's faces anymore. You can't see who's talking to you. It's been a while since you've seen these people." I said, "It'll be difficult for you." I said, "But number 2, he was not your friend. He has not been your friend for a long time. That family has not been your friend for a long time. He was an asshole before, now he's just a dead asshole." And I had to say it as bluntly as that because people tend to, when somebody passes or when somebody is no longer in their lives, they tend to rewrite history.
Right, exactly.
And If you're going to have any chance of forgiving someone when they are no longer in your life, if that be it they're just moved out of the state or out of the country, or whether or not they have moved on in life, you have to be realistic and you have to be fully honest with what the situation was. You cannot rewrite it.
Nope.
You cannot minimize it. You
Nope.
cannot just try to be nice about it. You cannot gloss it over with anything. You really need to have that clarity because otherwise, if you're glossing it over, if you're rewriting it, what are you really forgiving then? You're forgiving the romanticized version of what happened and not what actually happened.
Exactly.
You cannot rewrite history regardless of the situation.
Right. And, you brought up a good point because there are three feelings and emotions we can experience when someone dies.
Mhm.
If we love them deeply, we will feel grief, which is great love. If we watch them suffer a long, drawn out illness, we will feel some relief as well as grief because we don't
Mhm.
like watching them suffer. And all honesty, if you've been a person who has taken care of someone long term, you will feel relief for yourself too because
Yep.
you want to get on with your life. And those are good and valid feelings. But there are some people, when they pass, we just feel relief.
Yep.
Okay. And sadly, my who I felt relief or will feel relief list is pretty long. It's sad. I mean,
Mhm.
let's not be the kind of people that people feel relieved when we go. That's a sad statement on a life lived poorly.
Yep.
Keep that in mind that when someone has passed, that we have some big healing issues. After we've talked about it, then we take a little time to write a letter to them.
Mhm.
They will be able to hear it's all telepathic. Why we have 50 reasons we have a right to be mad at them. And also, as we're doing this, by the way, sometimes we're being guided from the other side because they're doing their life review
Yeah.
and they're seeing what they did. And Spirit wants them to see how it still affects us and how it did affect us. Because
Mhm.
sometimes they're going to say, I don't remember that. I don't think it was that bad. Oh, I don't think she felt that bad about it. Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. Why don't you read the letter she's writing you? So once we put it down in writing, is very cleansing for us. And then you could burn the letter, rip it up,
Yep.
do whatever you want with it, but it gets it out of us. We can't keep those feelings inside because what we bring forth will heal us. What we keep hidden will destroy us.
Yep.
And then we're going into 2026 philosophy. If you told this story to one person, two people, you wrote it down, you talked about it, then let it go.
Yep.
We overtalk everything now. We have to stop.
Oh,
It
yeah.
cannot be our story. I have clients that I've been reading for probably 30 years, and I hear the same story every single reading. What their mommy did, what their daddy did, what their ex. And I
Mhm.
keep saying, can we move on? Yeah, but I moved on, but no, you
No.
haven't.
Either
No,
you
you
moved
haven't.
on or but. You have not moved on but.
And forgiveness feels like you can talk about it without any great pain. If someone
Mhm.
has a similar situation, you can hear with compassion and guide them with your wisdom, but it's not triggering anything. It feels like it happened in a past life. It's over. It's not here inside of me hurting me anymore.
Mm.
And I don't care what sin it has been, because I have watched myself move on from things I thought I could never move on from
Yeah.
and feel at peace about that. Because remember, we say over and over the highest energy frequency isn't love or joy, it's peace.
Mhm.
Forgiveness brings peace.
Yep.
It's a frequency that heals us, that makes life wonderful. You know, when we can't stand life is when it's chaotic, when people
Oh
are
my god, yeah.
screwing up and they're throwing their mess and it's a shitstorm. And you're like, well, I saw this going to happen. Why didn't you listen to me before it became that?
Yep.
Peace. We want to find peace. Forgiveness is
Absolutely.
one of the best things to do that. So we're going to work a little bit on anyone who's listening to this show. Is there someone you need to forgive? Someone from the past? Is there someone currently in your life that Forgiveness may mean not reconciliation,
Mhm.
may mean enough is enough, that we know if we let this person back in our life, maybe for 1 month, 2 months, they won't do it again, but they will do it again. Some people will make the same mistake 60 years, 50 years, over and over and over again.
Mhm.
Like when you were talking about that man who died, who's bad with money, that's called fiscal infidelity.
Mhm.
He'd be screwing her over financially for 20 more years if she let him.
If you could. Yep.
Yep. And maybe
Absolutely.
God got him out of here to save him from ka-chinging up some bad karma.
Could be.
Because
Definitely
so
could be.
really trying to live a life where we do forgive ourselves as well. Remember, a lot of the things that we've allowed, not something that we're total victim of, but a lot of times we have seen the writing on the wall. We have been warned by people telling us this person is going to hurt you or hurting you. We have heard this, and yet we thought we could fix them. We
Mhm.
thought they're not going to do it to me. That's something that we have to take some full responsibility.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's the way we were raised. We were just raised by abusive people or in religions that just kept telling us to turn the other cheek.
Yep.
We have to work at having that inner nurturing mother, the way that you would love your children or you love your friends. What we would tell someone is if someone did it to our beloved best friend, we wouldn't say turn the other cheek. We'd say sue that son of a bitch. Enough is enough. So it's taking some responsibility for allowing people too long in our life to do it.
Yep.
Old souls, it takes us a long time, 10, 20 years before we start going, oh, ding dong, this is never going to end. This is going to go on forever.
Well, recognizing your own role in that situation is definitely key. And I'm not talking about a situation where you were molested. I
Yeah,
mean,
a
or
raped or
something
something.
along those lines. I'm not even talking exclusively about abuse and about certain things like that. But like, if you're talking about a relationship that has gone sour, be it a husband, a boyfriend, a friend, family member, anything like that. People always say when we're speaking about truth that there's always three sides to every story. There's your version, there's my version, and in between, someplace in between those two versions, there's what's actually true. And in situations like that where someone may have hurt us, you do have a role, even if that role is just allowing them to exhibit that behavior more than once. I'm trying to say this tactfully because I know that people are going to take it the wrong way and somebody's going to get offended, So I'm trying to find the right words to say this without being crucified. But you have a role. If you take that forgive and forget mentality, then what you're doing is you're allowing yourself to be open
To
up
be
to the same hurts repeatedly. You have to
exactly.
remember what it has hurt you so that they're not repeated in the future. So forgive and
No,
forget doesn't work. But at the same time, if you are complicit, if you forgive it and then you've chosen to forget and then you still allow the same things over and over again, you are volunteering. And when you finally have had enough, at that point, it's not just about you forgiving the other person. It is about you forgiving yourself, but it's also about you taking responsibility for you not to repeat those actions moving forward. For
exactly.
example, when we first started the show, I was in a relationship and then that relationship ceased and for a very long
You
time and
mean 18 years ago?
oh, yeah, yeah, 18 years
Yeah.
ago, and I mean, I held a grudge against my ex for a very long period of time. I mean, she was the Antichrist in my eyes, and I held her completely responsible for all of the horrible things and all that she did and all the horrible things that she said. I held a grudge, and I said I forgived her, but I was still kinda had a chip on my shoulder, and that chip didn't go away, that sense of anger didn't go away, and that toxicity didn't go away until I
Yeah.
said, "You know what? Wasn't completely her fault." Because I sat there and I tolerated it and I didn't stand up for myself. And when I did stand up for myself, I went back on my own words to myself. I went back on my agreement with myself. I went back on my agreement with her. I'm just as at fault for that relationship as she is, regardless of where it initiated. Where it wound up was the result of two people, not
Right.
just one,
Exactly.
And I had to say, wow, I forgive her. I accept the fact that she, for some intents and purposes, was ill, and that she had some things that she really needed to work through, and I have compassion for that. And just because I forgive her doesn't mean that I want her in my life. So
No.
therefore I have to have that boundary, and I don't affiliate with people that affiliate with her. And I wish her the best. I wish her well. I wish her everything in life that she deserves to get. And if it's good, that is on her. And if it's bad, that is also on her. I wish whatever she is due comes. And that's
And
it.
that's wishing someone in the laws of karma, they get the life and death that they have
They
earned,
deserve.
okay, and
Hmm.
deserve, because
Yep.
there is a law of karma. That's part of why forgiveness is an important step in the laws of karma too, because you're keeping yourself bound to that energy,
Yep.
bound to that negativity, bound to that victim consciousness. Let it go. In 33 years of readings, I have found if you're going to play victim, and my clients that never change have victim consciousness.
Hmm.
Okay, they never give up the victim consciousness.
No.
They never let go of it. And I will tell you what people tend to do, and what I did in my life is just go into denial mode.
Yeah.
We just don't want to see it. And we saw it, but we went into denial. And old souls are donkey people. As we do is work. So we're working hard. We're doing and doing and doing and taking care of that. Really, whole decades pass when people have been doing the same behavior that we have just denied.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, 10 years or 20 years of that or 5 years of it, there's consequences of someone spending too much money or not working, gambling, doing
Hmm.
drugs, drinking too much, that come like a train wreck at us because we practice denial. So if we don't do things like forgiveness, our mind is living in the past.
Hmm.
It's wasting energy. And we're maybe dreading the future because someone else is going to do the same thing to us. Okay. Everybody's going to screw me over.
Yep.
And we're not living in the now and responding appropriately to what actually is now. And maybe there's some things we need to be aware of. What forgiveness does, and it all goes back to living in higher frequencies, living in the new millennium energy of living in the now, which is a high energy frequency, the highest one, not living in the past,
Hmm.
not dreading the future, and focusing here. When we live in the now, life goes much more smoothly because we see things that need to be seen. We're awake and aware.
Yep.
So part of it is just living a better life because we're able to enjoy now.
And remember that those hurts, they're just a chapter in your story. They're not the entire book unless you allow it to be the entire book.
Let's start a new year of I'm letting go. Not going to say I forgive without doing the steps. You really have to
No.
do your inner homework to move to forgiveness and to set yourself free, to
Mhm.
untie your victim consciousness so that we can start a new year, not with draining energy, baggage that makes life harder. Because if you don't have all this chaos and all this person did this to me, you actually have peace in your mind.
Yeah.
It's an amazing concept to experience I'm at peace. It's something that we're starting this year of 2026 with re-examining our life. And that means letting go of anything in the past that's not working,
Mhm.
re-examining, are we on the right path or what we're doing? What I'm doing now, is that going to be a train wreck 2 years from now? Or is that going to yield good things? And then reinvent and redesign your life to the best that you can do it. And you're never too old, you're never too young, it's never too late to do this.
But you have to be willing to take that first step. You have to be willing to forgive, what you need to, and you have to get the chip off your shoulder and you have to release it. Because it's not good. After a while, yes, you could have been the victim of someone else, but don't unconsciously be a victim of yourself by
Right,
holding
exactly.
yourself in that, because you don't have to be your own victim.
Nope.
Oh, that's
And you can
choice.
choose. It is a choice.
Yep.
After a while, it becomes a choice. Yes, there are a lot of people that hurt us. There are a lot of people that will hurt us. Every day they're trying to scam us on our phone. People trying to hurt you everywhere.
Hmm.
But you can live in the now, be awake and aware, and you'll be less likely to be scammed or hurt because you are living in the now and not in victim consciousness. And you're
Yep.
your mind is working sharp and good. And then you could hear spirit, by the way, which is always protecting us.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so glad we did this show. This has
Yeah.
been an interesting one. Again, a lot of the concepts are in the book, Why Good People Can't Lead Bad Relationships, because one of the things is learning what the real meaning of forgiveness is, because that will determine whether we stay in a relationship or we go. Well, all see each other again. Happy 2026. And thank you so much, Nicole. And I can't wait till
Thank
your
you,
website
Cindy.
comes out.